10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome, everybody. Episode 6 of Lost in Comics. And do we have Lost in Comics? There we go. Let's do that again, Jim. You can edit that out. Welcome, everybody. Episode 6 of Midlife Crisis. Nope. Midlife Vices. Don't start drinking tequila before you start recording. All right, here we go. One more time. Welcome, everybody. Episode 6 of Midlife Vices. Do we have a good one for you tonight? Very special episode going on. Not going to give you any hints of who we have for a guest here, but let's just go ahead and introduce our very special guest.
It's Loster in Comics time. Loster in Comics. Who's lost? I'm lost. It's Loster in Comics.
Tonight is a special Loster. Oh, damn it. Welcome, Chris. Tonight is a special Loster in Comics. Not only are we lost, we are loster than you could possibly imagine. And the intro to the show pretty much proved that.
Great intro, guys.
Leave it all in there.
Man,
that was special.
This is a great intro, guys. Great. Steve, you're everything. I mean, you're smooth, man.
Yeah, very smooth,
criminal.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. That was good. That's got to stay in too. That's all got to stay in. That can't come out, Jim. That's good stuff.
Yes, rarely does it make the live show and the gag reel.
I can't believe I introduced us as Lost in Comics.
Yeah, I was pretty happy about it.
It's a family, man. It's anybody can be lost in comics.
That's right. And actually, we are a spinoff. You're the cheers and we're the wings to your cheers. So
I endorse it.
You've got a few spinoffs going on out there.
Laverne and Shirley to his happy days. Yeah.
There you go.
Just don't be what's the Joey? What's the spinoff off of Friends?
Don't be the Joey to the Frasier.
Don't be the Joey to Friends.
Don't be the Joey. Yeah.
Friends to the Frasier.
Different world to the Cosby Show. There we go.
Right.
But we got a good one tonight. We haven't been talking much about comics, but we are going to get into it a little bit tonight. Plus, we're going to just find out some stuff here about Chris that maybe we don't know. We know how he got into comics. If you watch his show, you know what got him started, but we don't really know what got him into doing his Lost in Comics show. So I'm just going to go ahead and ask you right away, Chris, before we move any further. What got you and Oscar started doing the show?
How much time do I have, guys? Because man, this is a good story.
We're good. I'm here till I don't have a job. You got to work tomorrow. I don't.
Well, that's debatable, man. I might call in.
There you go.
All right. So, man, it really is a good story. 2019, the December of 2019, for the previous couple of years before 2019, Oscar and I would get together every end of the year, and he and I would have our own end of the year comic award show. We do similar to what we do now, the Lost in Comics end of the year show, except it was just he and I. We'd have some drinks. And he and I had these categories that we had talked about, a month ahead of time. And we would just get together and we'd hang out, have drinks, and we would do our own comic awards off, no camera, just he and I, just friends, talking comics. And that's what we would do, right? So December 2019, I went over to his house to do the same thing, took over some drinks, except that when we went up to his room upstairs, he had a camera that was, right in front of a table there. And I looked at him. I was like, what is this? Like, what are we doing?
He walked in on a porn shoot.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, then he's got if you knew the room, it's got a couch there, in the direction of the camera, and then the table in front. I just imagine, I was like, what are we doing here, man? It's big. He's a big guy. I don't know. I didn't know what I had done. So
did it start off with he was backpacking through Europe?
No, not quite.
Okay.
You were there to install the cable?
Yeah. So yeah, he said, "Hey, I want to film this." I said, "Film what?" And he's like, "I want to film our comic time, our talking comics." And he's like, "I really feel like it would be a good idea if we just started putting this on YouTube when we do it, And I said, "Okay." I was a little hesitant, to be honest with you, and I actually resisted, doing anything with YouTube or anything recorded. He and I had a great time, just the two of us. To be completely honest, up to that point, I don't even know. I didn't even get on Twitter very much. I didn't do Instagram very much. Didn't do a whole lot of anything social media related. Definitely didn't do YouTube. So yeah, we filmed that first comic award show, and we even had some categories that we no longer have in the end of the year award show. Mostly because they're kind of just politically incorrect at this point. And we'd make fun of artists and writers and things like that,
Right.
which we don't do anymore. So, but yeah, that is how it started. The video, we put it together. We just recorded ourselves, and I think the first week we released it, it had like 120 views, and Oscar and I got all like excited. We are like, "What the heck?" Like, I thought it'd be just our friend, our family, my wife, his kids, got 120 views, and I think that kind of spurred us on to just like, hey, maybe we should make this into like a show or do something. I mean, we had just intended to do the end of the year thing, and then that was it. From there, we just took off. Yeah.
Do you think the timing worked out the best for you? Because that was right at the beginning of the pandemic, correct?
Yeah. So end of 2019, beginning of 2020, and I think we had the obviously the first 3 months. March was like the pandemic, just full force. So we had about 3 months prior to the pandemic when we started, where we were putting out content. But I do actually, I do attribute a lot of our, I don't want to say success. I mean, we're still a super small channel, but I think a lot of our viewership came during that time, during the pandemic. Oscar and I first started off doing what you guys are doing, recorded content. We'd get together, meet at his house, and we'd record in front of a camera. It was not live. And then right as the pandemic hit, I stopped going. He stopped inviting me over to his house, and I had to. We started doing StreamYard. We started doing it live, and I think that changed the whole dynamic of the channel. Yeah.
So 135 episodes in now.
135. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I think I'm not going to speak for Jim, but the show has definitely been a big part of what I enjoy doing the last, 2 years now, I think, almost. January, I think, of 2021 is when I got on board, maybe December, January, something like that.
Yeah.
Well, it's how I've met everyone I talk to on Twitter.
Right.
I mean, well, just about,
That's awesome. Yeah.
So Jim, how did you get turned on to LNC?
I was, Philadelphia had just come out. I did a search for a review, came across Chris and Oscar's review. I think they even had an Infinity Gauntlet at that time.
That was our rating system. Yeah.
Yes. And then I pretty much watched all their videos at that time, I think, and then started catching the live show. But I wasn't around because it was right during my family dinner time.
I remember that.
And it became a running joke,
I'd invite you all the time, man.
And
at that dinner
I wanted to be there, but family does come first. And
I don't know what it was. I just always wanted you to be. I guess your presence on Twitter and hearing the comments that you would leave on things, and I really wanted you to be in the show. I remember very vividly pushing you, and I remember the dinner time, and it's funny. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I always enjoyed. For one, I enjoy your humor. It's that's what I like about both of you. We're very rarely serious on Twitter, or
I think you guys think I'm serious sometimes too, and it makes me laugh. And
what's that?
I said I think you guys think I'm serious sometimes too, and I get a kick
think
out
that
of
goes
it.
around. It all depends on what you're in when you're on Twitter.
Right.
Yep.
Because I know I can rub people the wrong way on Twitter, but I am not serious ever on Twitter.
Luckily, I never say anything that could rub the wrong way with anybody. I keep to myself. I don't comment on stuff that I shouldn't get involved with.
Really?
I stay away from that stuff. So, yeah, I mean, my story is, I think I've told you guys, I wasn't looking for a comic show at all. I was looking for a show about Lost, a YouTube stream with a some kind of fan club or something that I could watch and talk about Lost. And so I typed in Lost, and it came up Lost in
If you
Comics
ever
was the
find
first
that,
thing.
let me know.
And I'm like, yeah, exactly, right? I'm like, ooh, I like comics too. So this show looks like it might be great. They're going to talk about Lost and comics. And little did I know it was just about comics, and ended up costing me a ton of money. But what are you going to do?
Did you actually catch the show live the first time, Steve, or did you do like a rewatch of a show? Do you remember?
I think I watched, it was probably around, I think episode probably 57, 56, somewhere in there. And I
Okay.
think it was a replay.
Okay.
And then I
All right.
came into chat probably the next week. And then we started talking. I don't even
Yeah.
remember. Oh, seeing Jim on Twitter, and we started talking about
Yogurt.
Greek yogurt, which I
guess.
hated at the time. And now I eat it 6 days a week for breakfast. But
Religiously.
yeah. So yeah. And then it just kind of went from there. But
I remember
definitely
that
glad,
like it was yesterday.
definitely glad we stumbled upon it.
Yeah, I seriously, it really, I know it sounds kind of cliche to say, and a lot of channels say this and whatnot, but it's, it really does feel like a family of some sort, not really like a, real family, but I guess as real as you can be on social media. At
Right.
least with a couple you two guys, I think we have formed an actual friendship, which is hard to do on social media, YouTube, and I think for that reason, and I've always, with the channel, I've always wanted to be as best who I am, on the channel, and present good quality, wholesome things,
Right.
and I've always wanted to, it's one of the reasons why we don't have a lot of controversy on the show. We don't do a whole lot of, I don't want to talk bad about creators, and because
Right.
I don't think that's all that important. And I think the people that are attracted to our show are good people, and I think that's what makes
You
the
want to talk about
family
things
what it
you
is.
like. I've never understood people wanting to talk about things they don't like.
Right.
Never
Exactly.
understood.
I think I kind of remember my first comments to you, and I can't remember if it was in the chat or if it was on Twitter, but I think I commented that you and Oscar reminded me of Michael Cera and DJ Khalid. And I think you were like, oh, here we go, Oscar.
Oh,
You
man.
actually said that to Oscar. You're like, oh, here we go.
I do remember that.
Yeah. I'm like,
It's
that's why I'm surprised we even talked, because probably my first week in your comments, I was probably saying stuff that was annoying. You're
it
like,
was,
who is this?
but I got a
dude?
kick out. I don't know if you remember or not, but I would get a kick out of your comments, and I don't think Oscar did at first. And off air, he was like, "Who is this guy?" Like, so I know he means well, Oscar. Like he's hilarious. He's sarcastic. Don't take it serious. And it's funny that comment. I specifically remember it. When I was growing up, I was about 15, 16, 17. I kid you not, like at least 3 people told me that I looked like Michael Cera, or I had like his demeanor, and
Right.
so I'll never forget when you told me that. I was like, oh man, like I don't know what it is. And like some people see it, and it is funny. And yeah, obviously Oscar definitely looks like DJ. Was it Khalid?
Khalid.
Yeah.
See, I don't know who any of these people are, so I have to take your word
Michael
for
Cera,
it.
he plays in Ant-Man. He's the, what's his name in Ant-Man?
Okay, yeah. Oh, I can see it now.
Super Bad.
Yeah.
You remember the movie Super Bad?
I do
Scott
remember
Pilgrim. Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah. He's hilarious.
Yeah,
he's pretty funny.
He's a funny dude. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, cool. Well, it's good to have you here. We might break 21 views this week. I was surprised we actually went down again this last week, didn't we? Which is cool.
Oh,
I mean,
think we went up.
oh, did we? Last I saw was 21. Oh, that was up from 16, wasn't it, or something like that?
Well, it helps when I watch it twice before it even launches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to make sure my edits went in and the stuff.
I think that's really what attributed to the early success of Lost in Comics, was just all those times of me just every day going and checking, yeah, that's how we got 300 views.
Yeah. No, definitely good to have you here. So anyway, Jim, we'll get back to Lost in Comics stuff here in a bit, but what have you been up to this week? You been watching anything? Been reading anything?
I've been watching Halloween episodes of TV.
Yeah.
I have not read a thing.
No.
Nope, I'm pretty lazy when it comes to reading.
Yeah.
I did try to read the rest of that Ghostbusters run in TMNT, and I fell asleep pretty fast.
Right. Right.
But that's it for me. I
I haven't read anything.
I didn't even get to the Lord of the Rings episode 3
3
or 4. I didn't even get to that yet. So
Yeah, cool. What about you, Chris? What have you been? We kind of know what you're reading because you tell us about it. But what have you been watching? Anything?
We just finished Yellowstone, so 4 seasons of Yellowstone completed. Such a good show. It's one of those shows that there's just certain shows, and I know we're gonna talk about some of this in a little bit, but certain shows that you just can't stop midstream. You gotta keep going till the end.
Yeah.
Is it family friendly, Chris?
No, not at all. Not at all.
So are you going to move on to 1883 now, or that's the prequel?
You know what? Yeah, I think I might. I think we might at some point. I know some of those characters from that spinoff are obviously in Yellowstone. Tim McGraw and Faith Hill are, I guess, a big part of that show. Definitely interested in it. But yeah, it's very, very good. Very adult themed, Jim.
Okay.
Especially the first season. It's so much so that it was almost hard to get through the first few episodes, but once you do, it does get a little tamer. But I would tell you probably the first 3 or 4 episodes are pretty striking. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. We watched. What did we watch this week? Haven't watched House of the Dragon yet, but we did watch the most recent episode of the Rings of Power. Again, just loving that show a lot. Yeah, it's so good. I really enjoy it.
Caught up on She-Hulk too. We just got caught up on that. So
I'm still working on where I am with that show because I realize it's written as a sitcom, and sitcoms don't always have coherent stories from episode to episode. Like it's one episode at a time.
Right.
It's just so hard to go into a Marvel show and not have an end goal, a big bad, So each episode I like it, but it's hard to be excited to watch the next episode because it's not necessary to rush to it because there's really nothing tied together.
Yeah, it definitely feels like they're trying something new with it, where it does have that feel of a sitcom, in the Marvel universe, and some of it works and some of it doesn't work. Like Titania in the comics that I have read, I haven't seen her a whole lot, but that does not feel like Titania in the comics, what's going on in the show. And I know they're trying to modernize it for where we are now, but some of it's just a little, it's just, I don't know. Like I said, some of it works, some of it doesn't. We liked it enough to get through it, and episodes are short, so it's nice because you can kind of push through pretty quickly, pretty easily. It's not very impactful. It doesn't feel like you're getting a whole lot out of it, but it's a nice, end of a long day. You just want to relax and just veg. That's a good show.
Yeah.
To do that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice to have some 22 to 28-minute shows out there to watch once in a while.
Yeah,
it's a great.
Where are you at on it, Jim? Are you all caught up with it?
No.
I'll
probably never finish it.
So
I think I watched 2 episodes.
So Jim doing YouTube show about TV shows and movies is like David doing a show about comic books, right? Like, what have you read this week? I haven't got around to reading this week at all.
Yeah, man.
Oh man,
David,
man.
Well, see, the great thing about our show though, it's our top 10 list or top 5 tonight. So
that's true.
I don't have to watch everything. It's what I want.
That's right.
It's true. Yep.
See, it's all
right. Well, we do have some other questions here. We actually got some.
You have a mail message.
Viewer letters.
Yeah, your postman is awesome.
Got some viewer letters, so I'm going to read those.
Give me the tingles there.
Viewer email. First one is for Jim. This one is from Meredith from Scranton, longtime listener, first time emailer. When do we get to see you in a tank top?
Ooh.
It's coming.
Yeah,
it's coming. I've had it on at the beginning and like changed last seconds. No, not yet. Saving it for probably spring.
Right. Gotcha. Next one is for Chris, and it's not really a question. It's Shirley from Greendale says, Chris, thank you for being here. You make me so happy.
Well, you make me
That's-
happy too, Shirley. Thank you.
That's the email. Next one for me, Joseph from New York. How you doing? I'm doing good, Joseph. I'm doing really well. Thanks for asking. How are you doing? Hope you're enjoying the show.
How you doing?
Next one is Ron from Pawnee. Who the hell is in charge of this mess?
That'd be you. Didn't you see the intro?
Yeah, I did that all on purpose. That was to get viewers. That was all about
Well
the
done
viewers.
then.
And then we got one more here. It's David from San Antonio. Chris, will I ever measure up to Oscar? That's kind of an odd question.
Oh man. Simple answer, no, David. But in other ways, you definitely do. So, and
Gotcha.
Okay, so this is my new favorite segment, by the way, and I'm going to do this every week now.
Are you?
this is great, man.
Hey, I do have a question about. So David with the art and his daughter with your show, it's pretty
amazing.
awesome.
Yeah.
Just like Oscar with the music.
Mm-hmm.
You need to get those two together to do an episode or two with you. Any chance of that happening?
Love that.
I guess I can't put you on the spot like that, but
It's a good question. I have, if it was up to me, absolutely yes. I've tried to make something like that happen and haven't had much success. And I mean, I'll just say, Oscar is completely out of comics at this point. Not really doing anything with music or anything artistic. So I get where he's coming from as far as he's kind of put that behind him. And Oscar, and I know he wouldn't mind me saying this. He's got a very addictive personality. And he's not. And I'm not saying he's not addicted to any illegal substances or anything like that. But I know Oscar, and when he dives into something, music, comics, he has a very difficult time just kind of like keeping it at bay. If he give him a little whiff of a comic book or something like that, he could end up, we could find him a week later, spent $200, getting back in the hobby or whatever. So I get that he's really just put it all to the side and not wanted to touch it.
So he's did that with the music too, huh? Because that was an aspect of the show that was really awesome. His introductions for creative teams.
As far as I know, now that that part of it, the music portion of it, I haven't. I used to see him post a lot of stuff with his music, and he doesn't anymore. So I'm just assuming he's kind of put all. I did see. I think he sold an instrument as well. I saw that.
Man.
Yeah,
Rough.
Yeah, I know. So,
Anyway,
but yeah,
Oscar,
no, he's so talented.
We love you, man.
Exactly. Yeah, I miss him. Love him. I don't want to keep talking here, but it was very difficult when he left the show for me to even go on. To be honest, I didn't know if I was going to keep doing it. That's how
See,
much.
if Jim left, I would just carry on. There would be no issues. Like I wouldn't even really miss him. It's just
if Steve left, the introduction would be smooth.
It would be. That was smooth.
So
And David, if you're watching, you're okay.
Oh yeah, David, that's right. David's great, man.
David's awesome.
David is amazing. He is the most reliable, one of the most reliable people that I know. Great friend. He believe it or not, he does love comics and he actually reads them. I think he used to read a lot more than what he actually does read now. But such a good guy, and he really does love it.
I can't imagine watching comics without David.
No, if he was different, if he was any different, it wouldn't be the same. He's perfect for the role that he plays on the show. Like he's the perfect casting for himself.
It's so fun. I mean, it's just so funny. Like when he came in, I had no clue how it was gonna. I brought him in to help me because Oscar had to start doing. Before Oscar actually left, he had to stop doing some shows. There was going to be some shows he was going to miss, and David came in. I asked him, "Hey, would you mind just coming on and chatting with me?" And it went from this temporary thing to, "Hey, you want to do this with me all the time, every Thursday?" And he was like, yeah. He's like, you know, initially, you know, he didn't want to do didn't want to be in front of a camera, didn't want to. It's kind of like everybody else, you know.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But he got used to it, and he enjoys
It's
it
hard
now.
to watch yourself.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
it is. I don't watch our show. I go and I read the credits to see what Jim put up there, and that's it. I can't watch myself. It's horrible.
I have a
Which-
harder time listening to myself. Like,
That's it. Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
you know, then just I mean, I can see, you know, you can see it, and then you hear your voice, and you're like, oh God, man, I say a lot, you know, you know,
I do this a lot.
yeah, you
Yeah,
do.
I'm constantly shifting in my chair. And I also say
you
the
make
wrong
me
name
do
of the
it.
show several times. So I brought out the good stuff for you tonight, Chris. This is
You should
the
have told me, man.
Don
Look at that.
Julio
Don
70.
Julio 70. Man,
Pretty good stuff.
it's only Tuesday.
It is Taco
Man.
Tuesday
Taco Tuesday.
on a Wednesday.
Very nice.
Okay, let's go ahead. Well, one more thing to talk about. We all three pulled out victories this week. I finished second to Chris in points only in fantasy football, so I got off the schneid with my win. And you can see there in the little scroller what happened, who was beaten.
Purple.
Yeah.
Crash the Dork
That's
Knights.
Greer's team, right?
That's Greer's team. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Man, you really geared him up, man. Man, that's good.
So I might jump. I'm already up in 9th place after last week. I might jump to 7th or 6th with the
You did jump.
points.
You're up to 7th, I believe.
Nice. Making a playoff run. Now that I'm getting my receivers back.
Got plenty of time. You got time.
Oh yeah.
It was
Yeah.
definitely a good week. Yeah, it was. I wish that those points actually meant something. You know, all the additional points. You know,
Sure. Yeah, you
It's
can carry
like-
them over.
does it
They do
does it
as
help in a
far as
tiebreaker
score.
or anything?
Yeah, they do.
Okay.
Like if there was anybody else undefeated besides me, it goes by points.
Got it.
It's funny how the guy who makes up the rules for the league is in the lead.
It's
I
interesting.
don't like to say anything, but that's odd.
I gave you an opportunity to change the
Anyway,
Commissioner.
before the 12 people watching get tired of us talking about football.
Thank you, DC.
Yeah, thanks, DC Patrol.
Man, DC Patrol with his comments. I see him on y'all's videos. I'm like, man, what man, that's just you gotta love that.
Dude, he's great. He watches everything.
Shout out to DC, man. Best,
He's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, huge shout out.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
And Adam and Thanos.
Thanos, yep.
And all those people.
Yep.
All the regulars.
That's right. That's right. All right. I don't know if you brought anything, but our next little segment here is going to be
Oh, yes. Wow.
you show me yours and I'll show you mine.
Feel so
Go ahead and show us
uncomfortable.
what you got this week, Jim.
Actually, I brought 2 comics, both for Chris.
That's fair.
I brought Black Hammer number
Oh,
1,
look at that.
Lemire cover.
Yes.
Then I also brought his probably most famous book. I brought Sweet Tooth number 1.
Gosh, that is awesome. Man. I'm jealous.
I don't remember you
I got them
posting on-
both for great deals.
That's what I was just going to say. I don't remember you telling us you paid too much for them on Twitter.
Yeah, I didn't overpay for them. But no, I
Yeah.
paid probably what they're worth. Don't get me wrong. It's not, but well, I don't know. I think I paid $30 for the Sweet Tooth, which
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, that's not bad.
No,
That's great.
no, those are cool
man.
books. I have, and I showed this on Twitter. This came in a couple weeks ago. This is Ozzy's new album, and I got the cover that was drawn by McFarlane. So that's pretty awesome.
Very cool.
I have 2 of them, so I can open up the other one. The other one's just the regular album, so I can listen to it, but that one's going to stay sealed up. So, you got anything for us, Chris? I see you got a
Well,
background of stuff there.
I got I guess I've shown this on Lost in Comics before, but here's my trusty Batman figure that he measures about 2 feet tall or so. It's from the top of my
Nice.
head to almost my belly button.
Nice.
Almost one of my
how long have you
favorite.
had it?
I love this toy because my parents gave this to me about a year into Lost in Comics. They didn't realize how much I loved comics until they saw that we had we were doing a YouTube channel, and then they started watching some of the videos, and all of a sudden they started picking up little things here and there. And one day they brought this to me and took it off their car, and I was like, I felt like a kid again, man. Just my parents giving me a big toy, a Batman toy. But you can see how large it is there.
It's really awesome when your family finds out what you love and kind of not only encourages it, but the gifts they give you reflect you, and so
Right.
it's kind of neat.
It is awesome,
Yeah.
but it's
Special.
also when you have a specific set of things you like to display and read, and they buy you stuff
Mhm.
Yeah.
that they know is part of your hobby, but isn't really what you're doing. I mean, obviously, it's the thought that counts. And I'm never disappointed with a gift, but it's like I probably wouldn't have that displayed if
Yeah.
I know. I have a poster that goes up every time I have a certain relative visit.
Yeah, I can. That was definitely a home run, right? My parents getting me that, but I definitely
yeah.
have those gifts as well that I haven't. No, I can't do anything with them. I can't display them. Can't
Right.
they just
Can't sell them.
can't sell them because it's against
Halle
the
Berry,
rules. and-
Catwoman.
Right.
yeah, you would think. I mean, they should know to get me that, and they haven't.
Nice. So,
There you
so
go.
big news. Big news maybe coming up soon, Chris. Miranda Brothers.
Yeah,
Saw
maybe.
that post on Twitter today.
We'll see. And so Miranda Brothers put the comment, or they just put a picture of the Netflix logo, and on it, it just says something like, it's going to be hard to keep our mouth shut too much longer, something like
Right.
that. That's a pretty big hint, pretty big, putting the logo out there.
Seems like it was pretty hard to
Yeah.
convince before that.
I'm almost, I'm sure Netflix has something where you can't say the exact thing. And I'm like, wow, you guys just really towed the line there. But yeah, I mean, We Live, if they make that into a Netflix series, I think it's going to be really, really good. Nothing is guaranteed right now. It's what was the show that just got canceled? Grendel. I don't know if you guys are interested in that. It's off of it's based off a comic. They had already filmed that first season, and they just canceled that this week. We see all sorts of shows that get
Well,
adapted.
people don't usually get upset about that sort of thing, though. Like, Batgirl
Yeah.
gets canceled, nobody cares, nobody complains, nobody says anything.
Yeah, no. Yeah, it just goes on by, right? But not. But yeah, it is exciting. I to be quite honest, I love the story. I really like those guys a lot, and I'm really happy for them. And for the sake of not only us getting that story, adapted to television, but for those guys, I'm super, super excited for them. Man,
I think they were probably one of your cooler interviews. I really enjoyed that one.
Humble
that was
guys,
a lot of
man.
fun.
Really, really good. And I met them. We met them over at the Dallas Fan Expo as well, and they were just so down to earth. Had conversation with us. Just really, really good guys. Really
That's
cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And then the only other thing I think was the McFarlane Spawn announcement. That wasn't an announcement that might come tomorrow. Again, we'll see.
My Booster Gold and Blue Beetle double pack got delayed. It was supposed to be here tomorrow. Now it's supposed to be Monday. Let's see.
Where'd you order that off of?
Through Amazon.
Through Amazon.
Yeah. So the only places I haven't had get delayed from the McFarlane toys were if I got them from the McFarlane store. Everything else had been delayed or canceled.
I've had
and
both.
now I'm waiting on my Last Ronin figure. It's a Diamond Select figure that was supposed to come out this month, and now it's delayed till December. So,
that is
don't
such
announce
a,
them. Don't announce them until you're ready to put them out.
That's
true.
my thought process.
That's true. I
Kinda
just
like
don't.
movies.
I don't understand how that whole ordering. I don't know what has gone on with. I just don't get it. I'm like, well, how do so many people pre-order and you don't have enough, for the release? I get the supply chain issues, but you got to fix your site to, only intake so many that you can anticipate, It's got to be some projections. I don't know. I just don't get it.
Yeah, isn't the purpose of pre-ordering so they know how many to have ready to
Right.
go?
Right, and you have time in between the order till the release date, so
Right.
it's very frustrating for a lot of people, and I mean, it's first world problems, but still.
Oh, it is. But it knocked me off. It
100%.
made me
Yeah.
give up on buying those figures. And I know it's not the McFarlane's fault, obviously, but when your name's on the stuff, it's I haven't bought any other figures since the last one got canceled. But anyway.
I'm excited for you to get that last Ronin figure. I saw somebody somebody posted it on Twitter.
Was it
they
Ian?
got it from Japan or something, right?
Was it Ian?
Was it Ian? I think it was
I
Ian.
think it was Ian.
Or somebody he was following. Yeah.
Somebody in that we were tagged in posts, and they put a picture of that figure, and it just looks great. The detail.
Awesome.
I really want to get that figure. So
See,
that series starts. That series
I
starts
don't
next month
necessarily want that figure, even though I know it's Michelangelo. I don't.
Spoilers. No.
Oh,
thanks, Jim. No.
you should
Have you,
read that book.
have you
Yeah,
guys
Volume
finished
2
it?
comes out, right? Oh yeah.
Jim, you finished the book, right? American Ronin, Last Ronin.
American Ronin.
Yeah,
American
that's cool.
Ronin.
It's
Yeah,
very
great.
the figure's very. I mean, he doesn't have his color, his bandana, but I don't know. Just I guess correlating that with the story, having that figure, I don't know. It's great. I'd love to display it with the hardcover.
Well, that's
The
what I'm
Last
going to do.
Ronin.
And
The sideshow statue is really awesome.
oh, it is. Yeah. Yes, it
Yeah,
is.
that's that really large.
Yes.
It's really yeah. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, I've talked to Jim about this. The only figures I'm going to be buying are going to be ones that I can pair with books I have now. From now on, I'm really enjoying doing that with the figures. I think it looks really cool.
Yeah,
even if they're not perfect matches.
I have really slowed down on my toys lately for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's the whole thing.
Cool.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was all part of.
Oh, yes. Wow.
You show me
Man,
yours,
look at
and
the
I'll show
size of
you
her
mine
binoculars.
segment.
Oh man.
The size of her binoculars is awesome.
Yeah. So, all right. So now we are going to move on to what we're here for tonight. I mean, obviously, we're here to talk to Chris, but we are also going to get into our list. And we don't have a top 10, but we do have 2 top 5s this week. We're first going to do the top 5 comics that we want to or need to read, or that we need to read that we haven't read, graphic novels, what have you. And then we'll move on to our top 5 shows that we need to watch, want to watch, or that we've started watching and have never finished. So let's go ahead and start off with our number 5 books that you need to read that you haven't read. You know they're out there. You know that people talk about them, people love them, or maybe nobody's ever heard about them, but you've been waiting to read it for quite a while. Well, let's go ahead and start with our very special guest, Chris.
All right.
What is number 5 comic you need to read?
So, with comics, I feel like I own a lot of comics that need to be read already. I already have them in my possession.
I have those as my honorable mentions.
That's a fact.
Yeah, and a couple of those are on this list. But there's also stories that you want to read, and in the busyness of life and reading all these other great stories, these just have not been reeled in yet. I still need to buy some of these, but I'm committed to reading this list, this top 5. I put them in order of my level of commitment to getting them, to reading them. So number 5 is my least likely to read, which would be the one I'll push out the most, right? But I'm going to read them all eventually. That's what I'm getting at. So number 5, Catwoman by Ed Brubaker and Darwin Cook. There is a omnibus that I have to get for this. That's really the only thing holding me back. It's very pricey. It's a huge comic. It's a huge omnibus, contains over 1,000 pages, but it's written by my favorite writer ever, Ed Brubaker. Blend that in with, one of my favorite character that I have a very strong attachment to from my childhood, as you guys have heard that story before. It's a must read for me. You guys, you know how I feel about Catwoman. It's documented well on our YouTube channel.
She's awesome.
Yeah. And
agree.
I've
So does
I mean, I'm right there
Brubaker,
with
Brubaker, Darwin
does he write
Cook.
that in the noir? Is it written in a noir style or?
As far as I know, yes, and
how old
I've
is he?
heard. I believe it's early 2000s. I believe it's early 2000s. Yep. And I just have not, or mid 2000, like, man, I'm feel like I'm getting older here now. It's
Yeah.
2010 ish, that around that mid area. But yeah, I've heard so many good things about it. I've heard people, gush about this being the best Catwoman story ever told, and I have not been able to get to it. Yeah.
Do you read a lot of omnibuses?
I have a few. I guess when it's appropriate, I have a few, and obviously they're expensive. But
Yeah, I do it when they're on sale.
yeah,
that's the only time I buy them.
Yeah.
same. I think every omnibus that I own has been on sale, or I've bought it from somebody at a good price, because full prices, man, they're so expensive. But this one, Catwoman, even if you go on eBay, the omnibus, if you try to buy the trades for it or definitely the single issues, it's expensive. It's very, very expensive. So definitely one that I'm kind of always watching on eBay and lurking for. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So what's your number 5, Jim? What do we got?
My number 5 would be Old Man Logan by Mark Miller.
Oh,
Ah,
yeah.
And I had started that at one time, but never
Just
finished
love
it.
that story so much.
that's so good. Yeah.
Yeah, and you both have recommended it, and that's most of my list is stuff you've recommended.
Right.
That's a great
Yeah.
one, man.
It is. There's nothing
See,
better than redneck Hulks. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. See, I've never been a huge Wolverine fan, so
Right.
That was actually
Right.
one of my first experiences with an Elseworlds story.
Mhm.
And I didn't know how to. I remember first reading it, and I thought, man, what am I like? What is this happening in the Marvel universe? And I had a very, uh, small understanding of what comics were in the universes and whatnot. And then eventually, like, Steve, that they ended up blending that Elseworld story, bringing him into the actual Marvel universe through the Old Man
Secret
Logan
Wars,
story. Yeah. So, but it's so good. Yeah. And I couldn't get enough of that book when I was originally reading. I remember I got the trades for it, and it was very early on in my comic reading journey, and sitting there in my bed with a light, over the top, and Savannah was asleep, and I'm just there with the Old Man Logan trades, just reading. Such a good comic. Yeah.
It is. It's good. Yeah, I think you'll like that one, Jim.
Yeah. Good
All
choice.
right.
looking for it.
Good choice. My number 5 is Green Arrow Longbow Hunters. I'm just kind of getting into Green Arrow. I've never really read much of his, and I just read year 1 and loved it, and asked people for recommendations, and Longbow Hunters was at the top of the list. Again, the problem being that it's just so expensive. I don't want to buy it in trade, and I don't want to read it digitally. I want it in hardcover, and it's a long story. It's an omnibus out there that's just out of my price range right now, but I will get it at some point. Story looks really cool. I don't know much about it, but Green Arrow has always kind of fascinated me.
Same. Yeah.
It's a few good stories here and there. Kevin Smith wrote a couple. Year 1, I highly recommend if you haven't read it, and a few others. When they do Oliver Wright, it's really done really well. Now, was it New 52? They moved him out of, or was it Rebirth? They moved him out of Star City and put him in Seattle.
Yeah.
That
Or
was
Emerald City. Yeah. Or yeah.
no.
Is it Emerald City?
Emerald City sounds right. I mean, that's Seattle.
No,
Emerald
no. That's
Maybe
Green.
you're right.
That's the no.
No.
Somebody will comment. DC Patrol, help us out.
Let us know. DC is good at good with
Star City, because in
Star
the TV
City.
show they put him in Starling City,
You're right.
but it's Star City. Yeah,
Star City. Yep.
but then he moved to Seattle, and that just wasn't good.
Isn't Seattle the Emerald City?
Yes,
They
but
moved
not.
him.
Okay. Well, I was just making sure I was right on that.
You're right on that. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I like DC when they don't. I didn't like them bringing in normal cities. I like them being a whole separate universe. And then they start bringing in New York, and they start bringing in all these other places. Like, I like not knowing exactly where you are geographically.
I like that as well.
because who really knows where Gotham is, right? Some people say it's New
Right.
York, some people say it's Chicago. It allows the writers, I think, the creators to do a backdrop that fits their style and isn't stuck with that actual city like in Marvel. You have to have New York City, which is apparently where every superhero lives.
Right.
My favorite thing is when people say that they got Gotham City right in this comic.
Yeah.
Can it be on the other side of the tracks and be nice?
Right.
Anyway.
What's interesting about what you just said, Steve, is the I Am Batman series right now, which is Jace Fox, taking the mantle of Batman. They have what's made that story somewhat compelling to me that I don't know. I stumbled back on it. I had stopped reading it, and then he moved to New York City,
Right.
and I don't know what it is. For whatever reason, I enjoy. I don't think I enjoy it as much as him. The fact that he's in New York City, the fact that he's not in Gotham and not trying to take what's not his.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, they could have made up
Yeah.
another city. And I think maybe what's in my head, it's like, okay, if he's in New York City, when's he going to run into Daredevil? When's he going to run into? Even though they're obviously different universes,
Right.
but let Marvel have their cities and DC come up with your own and keep them completely separate.
Yeah, I would exactly. I think I would enjoy it just as much as I am now if it was a fictional, another city. Just as long as he's not in Gotham. I just didn't like him being,
sure, absolutely,
where he shouldn't be.
And it would probably be better for his character to have his own city. One thing that helped. Exactly. One thing that helped Nightwing was having Bloodhaven. I mean, if they put him in St. Louis, it's just not the same. So
yeah, you're right.
Now he has his own city that he's protecting, that he's watching over, and I like that.
Exactly.
Let St. Louis be protected by no one.
By whatever.
Well, actually, that's fairly close to Smallville, so I'd have to say that was probably Superman.
We're all under the watch of Superman.
That's right. All right, number 4 for you, Chris.
So, speaking of Green Arrow is my number 4, the New 52, issues 17 through 34, written by Jeff Lemire, right? So, which also has a collected edition. I actually own the traditional, the trades for this series. I have just not read them. And I actually own the whole trade for the whole New 52. And I think why I haven't got to it is I started reading the first 2 trades and they suck so bad. It's before Lemire got onto the run for New 52, and they're hard to get through. So I had started it, I put it aside, and I just have not got through those Lemire issues, and I really need to. It's just always in the back of my head. But yeah, does
that one have a title? Does it have a?
I'm sure it does. I know that there's arcs.
The Unsucky 52.
Yeah, something like that. They're over there on my shelf somewhere. But yeah, I can tell you for sure it's 17 through 34. The New 52 only ran 34 issues for Green Arrow. I know most of them ran 50 to 52 issues, but that one only went 34, and he wrote that last half of it. So definitely need to read that.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah,
good choice. Number 4, Jim.
My number 4 is 4 Kids Walk Into a Bank by Matthew Rosenberg.
That's a good one.
I've heard you mention that before. I thought you'd read it.
I almost bought it, and then I took it out of my cart and went with something else. And I regret it because I can't remember what I replaced it with. But yeah, it's a story I've been wanting to read for 3 years now, at least, and just haven't picked it up. And the hardcover is easily available. It's not like I can't get it.
Right.
Yeah.
I just haven't yet. So
what's it about?
I have no idea.
4 kids walk into a bank. Now, that is really the premise of the story is these 4 kids. I don't want to
I'm just
tell you
things about it.
Yeah, I don't want to tell you the whole thing, Jim. I know I really do think you're going to read it. But man, it's a good story. Matthew Rosenberg, that is the story that got me onto reading any of his other stories. And I have to say, by far, that is his best work. I don't want to bash any writers or anything, but he's an okay writer. But that particular series, for me, it captures something about adolescence, being the youth, being a young person. When you read that story, at least for me, I remember feeling like, man, I could see myself at 15 being in this comic, the
So
way
it
they
was like
talk.
Paper Girls was for Steve.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly, Steve.
Yeah. I don't know why that struck such a. I love that book so much. I don't know why.
Yeah, I do too.
And I see what you did there, Jim. But I'm just kind of,
Just
yeah,
take it.
yeah.
It's okay. Enjoy.
So that was your number 4. What's your number 4, Jim?
That was my number 4.
That was your number 4.
What's your number
Chris
4?
was talking, so I was thinking it was his. My number 4 is Kraven's Last Hunt. Obviously, one of the most popular Spider-Man stories ever, most important Spider-Man stories ever. And I'm a huge Spider-Man fan, and I've got the hardcover sitting on my shelf, and it's still in plastic. And I don't know why. It's almost like it's one of those things that I'm hoping I haven't built up too much. I think that I'm going to read it and be disappointed, because if I'm disappointed with one of the most important stories of my favorite character, that kind of is going to ruin some stuff for me. But
this is actually on my honorable mention, and it was on my list until I came up with a couple others. So yeah, this is one I really want to read as well.
Have you read that one, Chris?
That is one of the very few stories I've read on digital, and I read it back when I was doing some digital reading, and I don't think you'll be disappointed. I think it stands up even now. It's aged very well. Classic Spider-Man, classic Kraven. I think there are some Kraven stories that have come after that don't live up to that one.
Sure.
And yeah, that is really good.
Cool.
That's a good one.
In case anybody forgets what we're doing tonight.
It's Loster in Comics time. Loster in Comics. Who's lost? I'm lost. It's Loster in Comics.
We are getting Loster in comics. And that's true for me and Jim for the most part. We like what we like, but we don't know much about it. And that's kind of our whole story, right? Whether it's TV or intros or comic books or movies or whatever. We know we like it. We don't know why. And we usually forget why shortly after we watch it or read it. So
you don't give yourself enough credit, man. You guys, when you want to talk about something and you enjoy it, you can give a lot of thoughts on that stuff. I know I can attest to the DM that we've had on certain books and characters, and So
next week we're going to have Chris Evans with us. Is it next week or the week after? Next week.
Next week.
And we'll be talking about some stuff, and just knowing his knowledge and stuff on movies and directors and producers and actors, and it's just ridiculous. And so, I will once again be Loster, but it won't be in comics. So stuff like that gets.
That guy's an encyclopedia. I've heard on his show Gathering of the Geeks, and even before that, hearing him on another show, just his knowledge just comes right to him as
how they remember that stuff.
Yeah, encyclopedia.
Cool. Yeah. All right, number 3, Chris.
Well, since I was already talking about Lemire with my number 4 Green Arrow pick, another title that's been on my list for a long time, for one reason or another, has always evaded me. Another collected edition, Moon Knight by Jeff Lemire. I know very early on when I began collecting comics, Oscar was actually reading the Lemire run of Moon Knight, and he somewhat enjoyed it, but I remember him telling me, man, you would really like this, bro. Man, bro, you got to read this, always calling me bro. That's why I bring it up. But bro, you got to read this. And that's how long I've put off this series. And then, with the Moon Knight series that came out on Marvel, it kind of, reignited that desire to read that comic. And I need to I just need to buy it. I need to read it.
So I've read some of this. I have not read the whole run.
Okay.
And what I've read is fantastic.
I got to get to it. Yeah.
I can see how you can get a little lost while reading it, especially with the Moon Knight character, how crazy it can be.
Yeah.
But it's definitely good writing and entertaining, at least. So
very good. I can't wait.
All right. My number 3 is also a Jeff Lemire book. It's and I've read probably the first comic. It's Descender, which I need to finish this book, considering I have Ascender coming. And so now, have you read this one yet, Chris?
I haven't. I have it. I
know
got
you
all
got
the
all the
trades. I got all the trades, and I have yet to read that one. So yeah, could definitely be on this list. It's in my honorable mention. Should
You
be.
guys and your Lemire.
Ah,
I
so
feel like an
good.
outsider.
It's changed my life, man. Comic life.
I've tried some. He's hit and miss with me. Like I've talked to you guys about, I kind of have a hard time following some of his stuff. I get confused with some of his writing.
Is it real?
once
Is
in
it
a while.
not real? Is it in his head? Yeah.
Right, that
I
sort
can
of
see
thing.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's like watching 12. It's like watching 12 Monkeys or something.
Love that movie.
You just
Yeah,
gotta keep reading. I think that's the thing with Lemire. You just gotta keep reading. I think I've learned my lesson with that. Reading when you read a single issue comic of Lemire and you read the first issue or the second issue and you're like, what? I've had that moment quite a few times now, and then
You're
you
gonna have
just
your
keep
Moon Knight.
reading.
Well, I read May's
Yeah,
book straight
I can
through,
imagine.
and it got to the ending, and I just didn't know. I didn't understand what I'd just
Mm.
read. I didn't get it. I didn't understand
Mm.
the whole dog talking to him thing and how it was real and then it wasn't real and I don't know.
Mm.
I asked Jim about it at the time, like, so what happened to this? And he's like, I'm gonna have to go back and read it, and then he never did. So I don't know.
Well, I've
But
read
there's some Lemire stuff I enjoy. I mean, there's some older books I didn't even realize were Lemire. I think it's a X-Men story.
Oh
Was
yeah,
it X-Men?
yeah. Those
I'd
issues you
mentioned to
had.
you. I'd asked you if you
Yeah,
wanted it before I hawked it on eBay.
I'd still
And
like to read those. Yeah.
yeah. So, all right, nice. My number 3, Daredevil Born Again. I mean, obviously that's getting ready to come out. Disney Plus, that's going to be their next Daredevil series. But I think Daredevil Born Again is other than the Frank Miller reboot when he starts off there. I think it's probably one of the more popular.
that Daredevil Man Without Fear is on my honorable mentions list.
Man Without Fear is a good one too. That's a good series. Yeah.
Isn't that
I
the
think
first one by Frank Lemire? Not Frank Lemire, by Frank Miller.
Oh well, there's a new Man Without Fear. That's the one I was kind of thinking of.
Isn't that? But Frank Miller is that's what it's
Yeah,
called.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I was just making sure.
Yeah. So I think Born Again is again, it's one of those ones that's like too expensive for me on Amazon or anywhere else right now. So I'll just hold off. But definitely on my list. Daredevil's definitely is one of my top 3 characters. So just great.
Probably
Top 5, I don't know, whatever I listed last week. Top 5, type 6, 3, whatever. It all
Yeah.
changes after Spider-Man from 2 to 10. It's all interchangeable.
I would anticipate that comic going up even more as we get closer to the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. But unfortunately.
Do you think their Netflix show would have pushed it up more than the Disney Plus show?
I think people just want anything Daredevil right now. So, I mean, look how people are mad because he hasn't shown up on She-Hulk yet, and it was announced that he was going to be there, and that's half the people out there are watching She-Hulk just to see probably a 30-second appearance of Matt Murdock in a courtroom. That's the reason they're watching.
You saw the last episode of She-Hulk, Steve?
I haven't seen the most recent.
Okay.
No.
Okay. All right. Never mind. Not that doesn't happen in the episode, by the way, but something else.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like this is off
Augie.
topic again, but back to She-Hulk. I'd mentioned this to Jim before. It seems like it's almost used. The purpose of She-Hulk is to set up other shows, other characters. It's being used as a platform for that.
It's pretty much the basis for all the shows on Disney Plus, isn't it?
Not really. I mean, Falcon or Hawkeye was about Hawkeye. Loki was about. Although Loki did set up King, didn't he? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, Hawkeye introduced Kate Bishop, which I'm assuming she's going to show up in the movies.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Marvel's good at. That's how they keep people interested in what's next. Yeah. Okay. All right, you're number 3, or number 2. What are we on?
Number 2.
Number 2.
So number 2 for me, it's going to be Preacher by Garth Ennis. Man, I've heard people gush over Ennis's Preacher run for as long as I can remember. I know so many writers list this series as an influence in their own writing, and I have yet to read the thing. So I have volume 1 sitting right here on my shelf, and it's one that always have in the back of my head when I'm thinking of what trade to read next. I just put it off. But it is one that I really, really want to read. Have either of you?
It's on my honorable mentions.
I have not read it. The closest I've got is I watched the series on AMC, I think it was. And
Did
if
you
the
enjoy
comic book, if the comic book is anywhere near the series, it's going to be amazing. Yeah, that
Okay.
series is just so good. Such a fun series.
I never watched the series. Like I said, I've heard so many good things about this.
Yeah. And it's Garth Ennis. And if
Garth
you're
Ennis,
into
yep.
his stories, it's gonna definitely gotta be one you're gonna want to read. Cool. Number
sure.
2 from you.
Number 2 for me would be House of M
Mm.
by Brian Michael Bendis. Just started it like 3 times, haven't finished it. Didn't dislike what I read, but yeah, just something I'm going to have to read if I'm going to keep pretending like I like Wanda.
Yeah, that's a pretty important one for her character. I mean, before, pre-reboot, pre-Secret Wars and everything. Although there is a House of M in Secret Wars as well, but before that, the original, it's pretty impressive. And I'm not a huge Bendis fan, but it's pretty
See,
good.
I'm not at all. That's what's probably keeping me away from it.
Right. I'm not, but I think, well, there's a couple of his stories. I like that one, House of M.
Well,
The Secret Invasion, he's fantastic on, I think.
Yeah, even writers that I don't normally like, I'm sure
Right.
there's stuff out there by them
Oh, yeah.
that I love.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, when they're writing in their wheelhouse, when they're in their little niche for what they write well, they do a good job. Definitely get on that one, Jim. That's a great story. I think you'll really enjoy it.
Yeah. Never read that one.
Although it does not star. I mean, it's Wanda, it's the Scarlet Witch, but it's not Elizabeth. So you might be, you might not feel the same about it. My number 2, Punisher Max, and this is strictly because of your recommendations, Chris. I've never read much Punisher. I read Last Days of Punisher, pre-Secret Wars, and then my favorite Punisher that I've read is in Civil War. His character in that is probably the best character in that story, I think. I just love him in Civil War.
Love him and Cap's fight. That's just fantastic.
Yeah, it's a great fight. So that's number 2 for me.
That's a great number 2, man. Yeah.
I say that almost every morning.
Yeah. Oh, man.
So now we're to your number 1.
I almost said that
Chris.
that's what she said, but I figured that was going too far.
Number 1 for me, another series that I've heard so much about, particularly from you, Steve. And I know you have very fond memories of this book. Every time you talk about it, I want to read it. Secret Wars. It's also a story that, many believe is going to be the basis of where we're headed with the current MCU. And I want to know everything I can about that before we get that movie. So I have several portions of this book sitting in wish lists and stuff I'm watching on eBay. Initially, I was just going to get the trade with the Secret Wars as 1 through 7. I think the trade. But then you gave me that list of recommendations, and now my brain wants to read all of that stuff. So it's kind of slowed me down on acquiring it. Do you think if I read the trade, just the Secret Wars portion, I would get as much out of it? Or do you think I would enjoy it?
I think you could do the New Avengers leading up to it and then the Secret Wars without anything else.
I was
I highly recommend
when I read this.
You were what?
I was completely lost when I read that.
Yeah. Well, see, I mean, it was my first jump into comics, and I was kind of lost, but what I liked about it was it takes every character from every universe and it introduces you to so many of them. And it's like, okay, now we're putting them all together. Now I know a little bit about every character that's out there.
But see, my problem was I had never read 98% of those characters. So I was trying to find out who they were. And then there was multiple universes and incursions and
yeah. So the New Avengers part of it, I think, is pretty important with the story. And I think it's not necessary, but I think, Chris, you'd like the Last Days of the Punisher just because you're a Punisher fan.
I definitely want to read that.
That's a good one. It's only 2 issues, I think. And the main Avengers part of it is more of the younger Avengers, not the main characters. The New Avengers are all the main characters in that with Reed Richards and all that. So yeah, those two by themselves, that and the main Secret Wars title, I think you're good to go.
Okay. Yeah, that is one that I want to read. Like I said, I did these in order for me as far as the ones I think I want to get to like as soon
Right.
as possible. And Secret Wars is I just need it, and I need to get it, and then I'm gonna read it. So
Nice.
Nice.
Yep.
Your number one, Jim.
Will be something neither one of you have read, but it's G.I. Joe Cobra: The Last Laugh. It's
nice.
the Chuckle Saga. It's kind of a dark and gritty.
Oh, I wasn't ready to go. You
You're
gotta
way too slow.
you gotta warn me for that.
Yeah,
Shout out
it's a
to
dark
Adam.
and gritty take on G.I. Joe, written by Mike Costa. I've read the first comic in this. It's really great. I read it digitally. I want the hardcover, but it's like a $70 book, and I'm not looking to spend that kind of money.
Right.
So I'll probably wait for a reprinting or settle down and read it digitally.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
Where does your love for the G.I. Joe? Where is it from? Childhood?
yeah, it's being 8 years old and watching the first 5-part miniseries, the Mars, not the Pyramid of Darkness. Anyway, I watched that live coming out. I had a friend over and we sat down and we watched. I think they came out in order in the same day. Well, that's how I remember watching them. I'm not saying that's how it was done. And yeah, I've just been. I love. Yeah, it was my toys growing up.
Right.
That's what I played with. So.
But there's also is this a cartoon or is that what you're?
Yeah, well,
saying,
they
right?
made the cartoon to sell the toys.
Okay.
And then the comics came out, which I had never read the comics until I became an adult. So
nice.
Yeah, I mean, I remember reading the Choose Your Own Adventure for G.I. Joe book. And it's just when I think of my childhood, that's the toy for me.
Cool.
Yeah, I love when you talk about it. I can tell you really, there's certain characters for certain people, certain stories and whatnot. But every time that they really connect you to something, I can tell when you talk about G.I. Joe. That's that one of those things for you.
It makes me feel like I'm 7 again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Yep.
That's awesome. All right. My number one is the Dark Phoenix Saga. I've never read it.
Nice.
I haven't read a lot of X-Men. Taylor's run on X-Men Red was good. I think Dark Phoenix Saga is probably one of the most important, biggest X-Men stories out there. After Giant Size, number one, and maybe a couple others in there that are pretty important too. But yeah, I think that's one of the biggest ones out there. And I've never read it. Haven't read a lot of X-Men stuff.
Neither.
But the Phoenix, trying to understand the Phoenix Force, which let me see. So I'm a month behind on comics. Is the 1 million BC is out, right?
Yes.
Yeah, for the Avengers.
Avengers, yeah.
So does it get into? Because I know the one last year that had that one shot or whatever it was talked about the Dark Phoenix Force or the Phoenix Force, and got into that story.
Yeah,
a little bit of where it originated
definitely
from.
touches on that again in this one.
Nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to because the Phoenix Force is something that has always kind of intrigued me.
Same here.
That is my number one.
And I just to kind of piggyback off that real quick, that is one of David's favorite. He's always, tells me there's certain stories for him that are some of his favorite. That is one of his favorite. And so, we're gonna be doing a breakdown of that, Steve. So
awesome.
I actually just ordered the trade for that, the Dark Phoenix Saga. So David and I are gonna do a breakdown of that.
That should be on your list.
It should, but I already I'm already certain that I just purchased it's like an assignment for me now. So
that's what you have to do, Chris, is all these things on your list. You have to plan a show for it. That way you're required to read
absolutely. And I love that, for us right now, the direction of our show where we have this freedom now to kind of do these things. And I'm really excited about this Dark Phoenix. So also the Phoenix really intrigues me, and David's told me so much about this story, and it's one of the ones that he read when he was younger, and he
Right.
loves it. So I'm looking to get that out of him as well when we do that episode or episodes. So I'm excited about that.
Oh man, now I have no interest in this book.
No.
Yeah.
It's all right.
X-Men loses me. I've tried to read some X-Men every time I fall asleep.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh man.
yeah, maybe it's just not good X-Men. I mean, I think I love Nightcrawler, the character, but I can't even make my way through his Chris Claremont's story. I can't do it, and I own it. So
Well, the earlier X-Men is hard to read because it's just so wordy. Like I went back, I got Marvel Unlimited, and my plan was to start back in 1962, I think, with with Spider-Man #1, and work my way forward through Spider-Man, and then Daredevil, all the in order of release. And I think I made it to January of 1963, and I was just like, oh my god, these are just so wordy.
you might as well just read a novel.
Dialogue take me 10 years to get through a year of books. So
And
I
it
gave
sucks
up.
when you want to do have an experience like that, and there's so many good parts of that story that are coming, but when you
Yeah.
start like that, it's hard to push yourself through.
Well, there's
It's
so much
exactly what I run into when I try to read the Lord of
Yeah.
the Rings.
there's so much exposition in those
Yeah.
books. It's they're explaining everything as it's going along. Like it'll be
Mhm.
something stupid like an Iron Man punches Black Widow and she just describes it like
So
crazy amount of description.
one of my favorite things with comics is when they tell you when something happened in another comic. It says see issue.
Oh yeah,
4.
Mhm.
yeah.
Do you ever go back and look at that stuff?
I don't know.
I don't
No.
know. I think it's just a waste of ink.
No,
I'm
I
not sure there are
don't.
a lot of people who do, but it's a rabbit hole.
But I do know that sometimes when I'm reading, and I've read the other thing, it kind of just jogs my memory. Oh, that's right. That was in that issue.
Right.
But yeah, I very rarely will ever. Oh, I need to go read that. Yeah.
Okay, anybody got any honorable mentions?
I mean, they would mainly be ones that were on your list. Preacher, I hadn't even
Yeah.
thought about that, but that would definitely be one.
Descender for
Okay.
me, for sure.
So I have Sandman,
Mm.
and then I also have Kill or Be Killed.
Jim.
That's
Yeah.
good. Kill or Be Killed is good.
You got through the first
and
trade.
Batman: The Court of Owls. I haven't read that.
Oh, Jim. Man. Gosh. Those are
I've
good.
got the
Anything I say now, you
Ah!
fool.
Shoot.
honorable mention for me would be The Dark Knight Returns. I haven't
Yeah, I
read
haven't
that.
read that.
But
That's
Kill or Be
good.
Killed, man. I've
And
got
then I
I
have
think
another list of
4
comics I own that I want to
4
read.
volumes. Yeah, you've got a big list there too, huh?
It's only 3. It's
Oh.
Something's Killing the Children. I haven't read that. Strange Adventures and That Texas Blood, which I have read the first arc, but I haven't read the second.
Man, speaking my language. All those are good. Man, what did you say? That Texas Blood? You said you had mentioned another. Something's Killing the Children.
Something's Killing the Children. I have the first hardcover and I haven't read it.
Those are great.
Kill or Be
Yeah.
Killed.
Strange
Kill or Be
Adventures.
Killed. Strange
Oh,
Adventures.
Strange Adventures.
I just recently read Strange Adventures, and that I really enjoyed that a lot.
See, I've read 3 of them because I have it in floppies.
Mhm.
I don't have it in hardcover yet. So I've read about 3 issues, and I was like, I'm just waiting for the whole thing. I got the whole thing, and then I haven't read it yet. So
I think you're going to enjoy that. Tom, there's something about Tom King. I don't know. I always had mixed feelings about him, but lately, I feel like you have to get into a frame of mind to read his stuff, and then when you get in that frame of mind, you can actually digest it.
I'm right there with you. I mean,
Yeah.
he has some of my favorite stories, and also some ones that I absolutely can't stand. So
Yeah,
Well, see, I know some people didn't like his run on Batman, and I loved it. I thought it
I
was
did
great.
too.
It
I
was
liked
one of
it
my
too.
probably some of my favorite Batman ever. So
I liked it much better than the Tinian run.
Tinian's, yeah, he started off great.
He started off well. Yeah.
Yeah.
have you read The Visions, Chris?
No.
That is one that I should have on my honorable mention. I have the hardcover, and I haven't read it.
That's a good book.
Yeah.
I think you'll enjoy that.
I got to read that too. Yeah, maybe we'll do another episode or a breakdown of that too, because that is one that I've wanted to dig deep into. So good stuff, man. And Steve, how far did you get in Kill or Be Killed?
I think I'm through the second volume. I've got 4.
Okay, all
I
right.
think I'm through the second volume.
I love
It's
when
so
people
good.
read that. Yeah, and Kaiser Jose also started that journey, and I'm so excited for him reading it. And for me, that comic I felt opened up a lot of doors for me in comics. Like when I read that was my first Brubaker experience, and up to that point, I had read a lot of superhero stuff. I had read some indie stuff, but when I read that, it just
Yeah.
like I said, it opened up another level of like, oh shoot, there's a genre that I hadn't really explored that sent me on a hunt for those sort of books. And yeah, that book is just it's my favorite. Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah, it's good. It is. It's really good. I like that style a lot. And I've got a couple other of his books. I can't even remember what they are now that I haven't read yet. But
Mm.
he's definitely somebody outside of superhero that I enjoy reading. So
Criminal. Just if you ever just want to read some of his
no,
best stuff,
I've
Criminal.
got that.
You got Criminal.
Now that you mention it,
I got that.
yeah, I
So
got.
good.
I think I think I've read it.
I think
Again,
the only one I've read is All My Heroes Are Junkies, which
Which I sent you. Yeah.
Because what's his second one to the criminal?
You got Criminal. There's Coward is the first one. I'm looking over here on this.
Well, I'm thinking of something else.
you got a great
Lawless.
deck.
Yeah, no, right. There's my shelf is right over there. So, There's 7 volumes of Criminal, and yeah, Lawless is the second volume. It's that there is every time you see so the last story that came out, I think it was a 12 issue run of Criminal. There, if you read that, yeah, some people didn't realize, man, there's other volumes of Criminal, and they all lead into that last volume, of course, and they're all
Right.
connected. They're all in. I love Criminal because they're all their own individual stories in each volume, but each
Right.
connected. Like in volume 5, you hear about a character that you heard about in volume 1, and you're like, oh shoot, well there's the bar owner from volume 2, and there's the cousin of and they're all connected, and it's I love that. Really
Oh
good.
no, I was
Really
thinking
good.
of Reckless.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that's
Reckless, and then
so good too.
I've got that one and Friend of the
Pulp.
Devil. I've got those
Mm.
two.
Yeah, those are
So
great. Those are
yeah,
great.
both good. Both good.
Yeah, Brubaker.
Yep. So I'm definitely
Lemire.
on board with
Lemire.
Brubaker.
I'm Brubaker, Lemire for me right now are just perfect.
All right, so now we will move on. Our next top 5.
Smack.
We need to. Oh, it's on repeat, isn't it? It's on loop. Get off a loop. There we go. Stupid thing. Shows that we want to watch or need to finish that we've started. So we'll start with you again, Chris, on your number 5.
All right. Shows. Did you say shows or movies? It was just shows,
or
right?
movies, sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
it was
whatever you want.
I just
whatever
did
you
shows.
want.
I just
You're
did
Chris
shows.
from Lost in Comics.
I just did shows, man.
There are no rules for you.
I think when you go through so much of a series and you don't finish it, there's something there. It's this feeling that you want to know how does this story end, and it just gnaws at you. It annoys you. I don't know if you guys feel like that. I definitely do. And I know many shows go through lulls, and I think part of the joy of any series is knowing how it actually concludes. So kind of the same way I did my comics, 5-1. I did the same thing with the movies here. And I'm going to start it off with number 5, Dexter. This is Dexter. It ran on HBO, I believe, when it first came out. Showtime. Now, I mean, Dexter's been available for streaming for quite a long time. I remember watching it on Netflix while the series was still going on. There's some great early seasons. The first 4 seasons, excellent. But it fizzled out. I remember my wife and I were watching it very early in our marriage. Probably not the best thing to watch very early on in your marriage. But Dexter, I mean, have you guys both watched this or one, Jim?
I'm kind of in the same boat as you. I really
Okay.
fizzled out, except for I have no desire to finish it because I know how it ends.
So
I don't know how it ends.
Number 5 for me, Chris, is Dexter.
Oh, how about that, man? That's cool.
We watched the first 3 episodes, and it's something I want to see more of.
I think the
I
second
kinda
season
know
was the best.
I kind of know where it
Yes.
goes,
Yeah.
but yeah, definitely. That's my number 5.
Somehow
So,
I have evaded the end, like knowing the ending. I know I've heard people, mention it, and I just get away because I've always intended to go back and finish it. But it's also
Oh.
it's a lot of 9 seasons, I believe. It's a long.
It went 9 seasons.
I believe there's 9 seasons, and I think we got through 5 seasons. So it's a long process.
Which one was the woman from the Born Supremacy movies? Whatever her name is. 10 Things I
8
Hate About
seasons,
You.
yeah.
Which season was she in?
I don't recall.
I don't know.
I want to say 4. That's as far as I made it.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, my wife has finished it, and well, I don't want to influence you as far as watching it, so I'm not going to say anything.
So it's kind of TV shows and movies are kind of like the opposite of the way it works with me and my wife. Like watching TV, your wife always finishes and you never do. Where with me and my wife, it's the exact opposite. Not with TV, but just in general, I always finish and she never does.
Well played, sir.
Just
Hey,
saying.
honey. She'll never watch this episode. But yeah, I'm with you on that one, Chris.
Good. Yeah, that like I said, one that I've wanted to finish it for so long, and I do believe we'll eventually get there.
Okay.
What's your number 5 there, Jim?
Number 5 for me would be The Boys on Amazon Prime. I was really excited when I watched season 1. I absolutely loved it. I started season 2. I got about halfway through and I stopped. And I decided I was going to read the comics. And I did not like the comics nowhere near as much as I enjoyed the first season. And it's kind of spoiled me as far as even going back to the show.
Yeah.
It started seeming more like kind of like a Game of Thrones to me, where it just shock value. And
Right.
that loses me pretty quickly. So, but I would like to actually go back and I'd like to finish it. So,
see, for whatever reason, I have no interest in that show. I've heard a lot about it. I've just heard that it's, well, mainly from my parents. My dad watched the first season. Actually, he made it to the Herogasm episode, and then he quit watching. I'm like, it just seems too far beyond. Even though I watch Game of Thrones and all the stuff they have going on in that show, for some reason, it just hits me different than seeing that elsewhere. I don't know why. Maybe someday I'll watch it.
I really enjoy The Boys quite a bit. I like the whole premise of the show. I will say this last season, I mean, I'm pushing my limits already as far as what I can intake with that show, as far as just how the shocking, bodies just, coming apart, and the cursing. I mean, every show has cursing now, but I mean, that show in particular is just has a lot. And I feel like I'm already like kind of on the fence with it in that aspect. Yeah. But I've enjoyed it up until this last season. This last season, I feel like I enjoyed it, but the Herogasm episode, and I feel like it just really, really played on that. I don't know how to even describe it. It's just raunchy, I guess. Like
I think shock takes the place of story in a lot of shows, and I can see that. That's how I felt about Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
and I can see that with this, and that's kind of why I went away.
Yeah,
but
the story's good.
Like I said, I really like that first season. So
yeah, it's really
probably.
And I've enjoyed it up until, like I said, I even enjoyed this last season. It was just cringy for me.
You almost feel bad for enjoying it.
Yeah, and the last one really made me feel weird. Yeah. So
cool.
That's what I'll say about that.
Good choice. So my number 5 was Dexter. So we'll go on to Chris's number 4.
Number 4, which is my late edition that I was outside doing some gardening and just came to my mind, and I was like, why wouldn't I have this on my list? It's in the top 5 for me. The Walking Dead. We were committed to this show have you both of you watched Walking Dead?
Oh yeah.
Jim, do you think you'll ever watch Walking Dead?
No,
Okay.
no. I
So-
tried reading the comic. I've tried watching the show. I fall off of both, and
Yeah, and I enjoy both of them, comic and the show. But we watched up until the episode where Rick departed from the series, and I don't know that show. We were very invested in it, and both my wife and I, when that episode hit, I mean it took the wind out of us. Like I don't know how else to say it except when she and I experience something like that together in a show, and we both feel the same way. We stopped watching it, and we have never returned back to it. But I think her and I have recently had conversations about finishing it, and we really we've gone too far to not finish it. And I've heard some good things, and of course, it's going to be ending in this. This is the last season, right?
Yeah, they're down to the last 6 episodes now of the final season before the spinoff.
Okay.
Because there's going to be a Daryl spinoff. There's going to be a Rick and Michonne spinoff coming up. Only 3 episodes for the Rick and Michonne. They were going to do a movie, and then they moved it down to 3 hour-and-a-half episodes, I think. But I understand. It was definitely different because that's like losing, I don't know, Clark Kent from Smallville. Rick was the guy. He was the main character, and then he's gone all of a sudden. So that was rough, yeah. And the first season after that was weird. Daryl and Carol being there really made a difference. But it was different. I think now that you're that far removed from Rick being the main character, you can probably pick up after that, and it won't
feel so devastating
as devastatingly as it did. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Enough separation.
It's crazy when a show makes a decision like that. I know sometimes they can't help it. There's contracts or actors leaving, whatever the case. But I remember The Office. The first time watching The Office, when Michael Scott left the show, I stopped watching it. And this was when it was actually airing on TV. I stopped watching, and I just again, it was just one of those devastating moments for me, and I couldn't recover. Y'all will laugh at this one. I don't know if either of you watched Grey's Anatomy, but it was one that my wife and I, we have compromises. Like she'll watch this show. Sure. If I watch this series with her, Grey's Anatomy was one of those series, and I ended up getting invested in that. And one of the main characters, Derek Shepherd, gets taken off the show, and McDream, yeah, exactly.
That's all I know about that show.
That's all I know about the show too.
He gets taken off the show, and both of us were like, "What the?" Like, it was a horrible. And we actually dropped off that for a while. And then got back into it.
Still going on?
It is still going on.
See, that can never make my list.
Too long to catch up on.
It's like 30 years.
Yep. Luckily, we did. I think we got into it around the 6th season, so we'd gone up to this. We watched up to 6, and then dropped off wherever he got off of it, and then got back on, and
I think Walking Dead did a good job for me, with building up the new characters to make me care about them at all, to watch them, still have a vested interest. But yeah, I totally get it. I mean, you mentioned Grey's Anatomy. Well, ER was probably one of the first big shows that did something like that, where they had their main characters and then they left due to, Clooney left due to contracts or whatever, and then other movies and, just getting too big for the show itself, and it changed the show. But sooner or later, you can get back to it if you like it.
For sure.
Cool. So that's your number 4. Jim, your number 4.
My number 4 is a very popular series, The X-Files.
Oh,
yes. I have not watched probably a half a season of this show. Me and my wife had started it. We enjoyed the first, I think, 4 episodes that we watched. And something else came on and we watched that, and then we never got back to it. So, I would like to get back to watching that.
So I'm going to add that to my list. I'll just throw it as an honorable mention now, but I'm glad you mentioned that, because I've seen a ton of episodes of X-Files. Like, I've probably seen 30 or 40 or more episodes, and I love every single one of them. And they're just random episodes here and there. So to watch it from the beginning straight through to the end, that's I love that idea. I'm going to have to do that.
It's so good, and when you do the rewatch, it's so much more rewarding. I mean, the episodes individually are so good. I mean, each one they're different, paranormal whatever situations, conspiracies. My wife and I watched the X-Files. I believe 3 years ago we did the whole thing, and she had never seen any of it. I was the only one that had experience with it, and she loved it. So that one's near and dear to my heart. Yeah, that's
it's a
great
good one.
Yeah,
Good choice, Jim.
Yeah.
My number 4 is The 100. So this is a CW show. We watched either the first 3 or the first 4 seasons. I think it was the first 3. And then we moved. We didn't have the CW for a while. And I know that I've heard people say it drops off after the first couple seasons, but still, I'm 3 seasons in. I'm a completionist, so I want to see where it goes and how it ends. And
season
like
2 of the 100 is one of my favorite seasons of TV of all time.
Yeah.
Season 3 and season 4 is where we fell off. Now, I think my wife watched through 5, but yeah, it was the first 2 seasons are incredibly good.
It's a real good show.
Yeah, fantastic.
Especially by CW standards.
Yeah, it's great plot, great characters.
I've never seen any of it. What is the 100? What's it about?
So go ahead, Jim.
So there's a war on Earth, and the only survivors live in a space station. The International Space Station. I don't know. Anyway, it's a whole bunch of space stations that come together and make a community. Well, any laws that are broken, you either get sentenced to death if you're over 18, or you go to review. Anyway, a whole bunch of adolescents that broke laws get sent to Earth to test the atmosphere after the war. And it's about them surviving on the Earth and more.
It was supposed to be uninhabitable and all that other stuff.
I highly suggest, even if you don't want to get disappointed by season 3 or 4, watch the first 2 seasons.
Yeah, it's cool.
Great.
That sounds good.
It's a good show.
It's really good.
Yeah.
It
is.
Good
premise. Yeah.
Yeah. The second season, me and my wife were in love with the show.
So it's kind of a Lord of the Flies type thing,
very
when they first
and
sit down.
The twists that they bring in make sense and are shocking at the same time.
Yeah.
Season 2 is in my top 3 favorite seasons of all time of TV.
Wow.
Cool.
Oh.
Yeah, great choice. I mean, I should probably go back and watch it. My wife actually mentioned that for this list, and I turned her down because I had no desire to go it. But I should probably do it.
Yeah. All right. Number 3, Chris.
Number 3, Manifest.
Oh yeah. There we go.
I don't know if you guys have you experienced. Oh, this one I think both of you would really enjoy. Or sounds like you have already, Steve. But I know both, just based on your likes, I know you would both enjoy it. We were watching this show, my wife and I, as it aired. We went off through season 1, really enjoyed it. We began season 2, and for whatever reason, I think this was around the time my son was a little after he was born, and we fell off of it, just being busy with a brand new baby. But it was one of those that I remember it sitting in the DVR and the episodes piled up, and we just never got back to it. And then NBC canceled it summer of last year. But I think it had a resurgence. They put it on Netflix, had a big resurgence, and it was originally done and over with. But now there's a 4th season coming out here in November. And I think the news of hearing that extra season that came out got Savannah and I really talking about wanting to go back and just rewatch the whole thing. But Jim, if you have no idea what it is. I mean, basically the basic premise of the show is there's a plane, and the passengers and the crew, they disappear for 5.5 years. They're presumed dead. And then all of a sudden they just reappear into society.
We knew.
It's
Last
it's
5 years. Yeah.
not the last 5 years. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember
yeah.
this when it came out. I mean, I
Yeah.
haven't seen it, but yeah, now it rings a bell.
But yeah, everybody on board the plane has no idea what happened to them. For all they know,
Okay.
it was just this one occurrence. But everybody in the world has aged. They come back to society. They haven't aged. It's just like the same day they come back, and they just think that they just came right back.
Mhm.
Really
and then
cool
there's
premise.
conspiracies that go along with it, with their disappearance. They start getting the people on board the plane start getting visions. I won't say too much more, just in case you watch it, but they start getting visions of future events, things like that. A lot of mystery, a lot of intrigue on this one. But yeah, I have to go back, and we're definitely going to go back and finish this one at some point here.
Nice.
Yeah, good stuff.
All right, my number 3 is Scrubs. Just
Nice.
never finished. I've made it to like the 3rd season like twice, from the beginning to the 3rd season twice, and then I fall off every time.
Yeah.
So and I like it. It makes me laugh, but
Yeah, it's one of those I've never watched all the way through either, but I've watched episodes when they're on. So I've seen a lot of episodes, but I've never watched it straight through. And it's hilarious. It's funny. It's a funny
it
show.
is.
Yeah, we started it a couple of years ago because we had some friends that just, you've never seen Scrubs, you got to watch Scrubs, and so we started it, and I had no complaints about it. Made us laugh, and we just never got very far through it. Yeah,
I don't know why I've never finished this show.
yeah,
Yeah. I don't know. Good choice.
Thank you.
good.
Yeah, bad. That's a horrible choice, Jim.
Yeah, I overpaid for it.
I don't know. I probably shouldn't have brought the bottle in here with me because it's going down pretty good. Anyway, my number 3 is Yellowstone. We watched the first season. Liked the first season. Sherry, my wife, loved it more than I did, but I really enjoyed it. I mentioned, I think, to you guys, my problem was that there's really no discernible good guys, or there's no good guy, bad guy type thing. They all seem like bad guys to me. There's really nobody I can root for at this point through one season. There's a couple characters that are okay, but they're all pretty much dirtbags that are going to do whatever they can do to come out on top.
Yeah.
But I mean, everybody I talk to loves the show. As you said, you guys just went through 4 seasons and quickly, and for you to make it all the way to the end of a series, which I'm guessing will probably come up on your list faster than that one, is it must be pretty good. So yeah, definitely got to get back to that. And I mean, I love Kevin Costner.
What's it streaming on?
It's on
Peacock.
It's on Peacock.
Peacock.
Yeah, it's on Peacock. You could also get it on Paramount Plus or Hulu, I think, but you can't get the entire series. You can only get like the first 2 seasons, I think. But the entire series is on Peacock.
Okay.
I saw it.
Which, by the way, is where we watch a lot of our shows. That's where we watch Community. That's where we watch How I Met Your Mother. And that's where we watch all sorts of shows.
I saw it at Walmart the other day for $50. I'll say again.
I said, How I Met Your Mother was CBS.
Oh, that's right. It's on Hulu. Never mind.
Okay. I was like, that makes no sense.
Yeah.
All right. Chris, you're
Cool.
All right. My number 2, Parks and Recreation. Really, I was really late to the show on this one. I know my wife and I started watching Parks and Rec about a week prior to them removing it from Netflix. I think it was on Netflix, and we were like, oh, you know what? Let's start Parks and Rec, and they took it off Netflix. Like we were going through it really quick too, but I was very bummed about that. We were really enjoying it. We had already finished the first season, and we were chomping through episodes quickly. Couldn't get enough. Yeah, it's a season. Yeah. But now the show is, we just mentioned Peacock. While I was on vacation a few weeks ago, my brother hooked me up with his sign in for Peacock, which is how we watch Yellowstone. So now we have access to Parks and Rec as well. So
yeah,
shout out to my brother. But yeah, we definitely have our eyes on finishing that one also. I know you guys love the show.
Yeah.
So
I love that show.
Yeah, it's, there's probably 2 episodes of the whole thing I don't enjoy, maybe in the later seasons, but And for some reason, it doesn't fall in my top 3 sitcoms, but it's just hilarious. I mean, the characters are so. I love every character. I mean, there's not a character I don't like. And
I mean, Andy Dwyer is up there for me as far as favorite characters. I can't remember if
he's
he's in my top 10
fantastic.
list or not, but he makes me laugh.
Well, Ron Swanson, he's my
Yeah,
right behind Sam Malone. He's my number 2. He is just great. But all of them are just fantastic. And the writing is
it was nonstop laughs I know that when we were watching that first season, and I think we got a couple into the second, but we were just laughing the whole time, and got to finish that.
Yeah, one. I think season 2 is where it really starts shining. I mean, it's season 2.
It seems like most sitcoms are like that.
Yeah,
where the writers haven't quite worked out the direction it's going, and then maybe it's fan feedback or whatever for the second season. That
I say that, but like I told, I mean, season 1's only 6 episodes, so it's they got good pretty quickly.
Yeah, it did, and it actually made me. I think I told you this, Jim. It made me like, what's her name, in Office and Parks and Rec.
Oh, Karen.
Karen, yeah.
I can't think of her name.
Jones.
Huh?
Rashida Jones.
Yeah, makes me like her so much more in The Office after seeing her in Parks and Rec. Like, I didn't like her character at all in The Office the first time through, really a whole lot. Obviously, because of her role starting off.
I actually liked her in there.
But
in The Office.
But after seeing her in Parks and Rec, I liked her even more in The Office.
Yeah, I love when Rob Lowe and Adam Scott join the cast. It's great. They're just great characters.
Oh, he fits perfect. Yeah, he fits perfect. All right, number 2, Jim.
My number 2 would be Band of Brothers.
Oh God,
I gotta see that.
So good.
His reaction is the same. We say something every time.
Oh, yes.
It's the tequila talking.
Thank you.
I've made it halfway through the first. I don't even know how many. It's not a season, right? It's just one long miniseries.
Right, 10 episodes.
Yeah, I've made it through probably 3 of them.
Yeah.
And I have it, I think.
Yeah.
Well, I can get to it anyway. So, yeah, I think David Schwimmer really puts it off the first couple episodes for me.
Oh, his role is hilarious in that.
I just want him to, be bamboozled or something.
Right.
Yeah, I need to finish watching that show.
So I also recommend, if you're going to watch that you watch Pacific along with it, because the Pacific is just as good.
I've always wanted to watch Band of Brothers. Are the episodes hour long? Longer?
I think they're a little over an hour. Yeah.
Okay.
They can be an hour to an hour and a half. I think it varies a little bit. They're pretty long.
What did that come out on?
HBO.
HBO.
Yeah. I think Ron Howard was the director for it also.
Okay.
I know Tom Hanks and Steven Spielberg.
That's what I meant, Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
Why did I say Ron Howard?
I'm not sure. Because he did
was that after Saving Private Ryan? They did.
Yes.
It's all filmed after the.
No, this was before Saving Private Ryan, wasn't it?
I don't think so. I don't know. I'm just guessing.
I'm just curious because the team up, the Tom
Hanks.
I think this was the first thing they did.
Okay.
But I can't guarantee it.
Gotcha.
It's just a great horror movie. Just great.
Nice.
Oh, that's my number 2.
My number 2 is Mad Men. I've never seen any episodes. I have no idea what it's about, but it's just one of those that's everybody loves who's seen it. Won all sorts of awards. Everybody talks about how great of a series it was. There's so many people that came out of that show. So no other reason than that I want to go back and watch it, or go watch it for the first time, actually.
We should probably watch that. What's
Absolutely.
it
on? It was on, was it AMC, I think, maybe?
I think you're right. I think it was AMC.
So it would be on AMC Plus, or might be on Hulu. I don't know.
I've always had that same desire as well. Like my brother always telling me about that show, and I've heard several other people, and I have never started it, but definitely one that I've wanted to watch. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is one we can all watch at the same time.
There you go.
You got to find it. Yeah, let's find it.
We could do a podcast on it and have it be
Ooh.
like 15 years too late.
There you go. All right, that takes us to Chris's number one.
All right, number one.
It
You
better
guys know
be.
what this is. I actually really enjoyed this show a lot. We were streaming our way through it pretty quickly. We got all the way to the.
Can I give some hints? Can I give a hint real quick?
Sure.
It's Loster in Comics time. Loster in Comics. Who's lost? I'm lost. It's Loster in Comics.
There we go.
What that had to do
Who's
with anything?
lost? Who's lost?
Oh, okay,
I'm
okay,
lost.
gotcha. Yeah, so it is Lost, right? The show
If it
Lost.
wasn't Lost, I would have died.
It was the show Lost.
You should have made something else up on the spot.
Laverne and Shirley.
And so last night we actually started the process again of getting through Lost. I don't know what it was. I think it was just a culmination of things. We got up to. I actually thought we were in the last season, and then last night when I logged in, I was like, "Shoot, we're actually in season 5." So we're in the middle of season 5, and we need to finish that, and then of course finish the last season. But I think at the time when we were kind of flying through it, a ton of new shows and movies we were getting behind on, and because we were focusing on Lost, and of course Lost. Those episodes are quite long and the seasons are long. So I think we fell behind on other things. We went back to try to catch up on those things, started, getting into the other series. And then I think this one just kind of like fell behind for us. But yeah, definitely way too far in. Had a lot of questions as far as what's going to happen, what is all of this? And actually the episode we watched last night, actually started answering one of those questions that I had. So I was like, okay, now let's start getting some steam here.
Which episode was it?
It's the episode where I think it might be episode 6, actually, season 5, where they take oh my gosh, what's his name? The main doctor, Jack. So Jack, he's in that room with that mysterious lady, and she shows him the pendulum in the middle of the room for the first time. And I was like, and then she's just telling him about what the room is, and the Dharma Initiative, and how how they use that room to locate the island. And I was like, okay, now that is like kind of my whole thing the whole time. Like I have so many questions, and the seasons just keep piling on in the episodes, and I have a burning desire to know actually what is the island. I want the history. I want it all. And
so the writer's strike in season 4. You may have noticed season 4 was shorter than the first 3 seasons. So the writer's strike hit season 4, and that really I think changed their writing plans and how they released that information they were going to release. And I think it actually shortened the series a little bit. So they kind of near the end had to cram some extra stuff in. But yeah, you're right at the point where some stuff starts coming out. That
season 5 is my favorite season of the whole series.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah,
love it.
It's good to hear. Yeah, so we started last night, and I think we're on a mission right now to get through Lost. So it's my number 1 pick here. Yeah.
Cool. Good choice.
For sure.
All right. My number 1 is The West Wing.
Oh man, that's another great show.
I've made it through 4 seasons like 6 times. I'm not even joking. And something always comes up that we have to watch this now. So I have no idea how the series ends. I haven't got to a place where a main character dies. So yeah, there's some of this show for being a drama that makes my wife laugh out loud and almost cry laughing. And so we both hold the show in high regard, and yet neither one of us have come close to finishing it. So we're going to try again.
The greatest president in the history of the United States.
Oh, Bartlett? Yes.
Never seen it.
It's a good show.
We went over to a few years back. We went over to the Warner Brothers studio, and they still had the Oval Office with President Bartlett. They still had that stage, that the whole thing set up there. the set, and you could actually walk. You saw everything you'd see on TV, the desk and the background, and it was cool. But never watched the show, so it didn't have the same effect on me. But it's cool.
But yeah, it's a great series.
Yeah,
It is. It's really good.
From what I've seen of it.
what is that stream on? Is that
It might be on Peacock. I think it was an NBC show, right?
It was an NBC show. Last
I don't
thing
know.
I watched it on was Netflix.
Okay.
But I don't have Netflix. I haven't had it for quite a while now, so
Right.
I don't know if it's still on there or not.
nice?
My number one show is Better Call Saul.
Ooh,
Now, I have
You're
finished
caught up.
for any reason other than they haven't released the final season for free on what's it on
Netflix.
Plus
Yeah.
or Netflix or whatever it's on. They haven't released it yet. It was actually on ABC, but they don't air all the episodes for whatever reason. They only show like the last two, so I have to wait for it to come out on Netflix. But as far as sequels or prequels goes for a show, I mean, Breaking Bad is in my top shows, and Better Call Saul is as close to as good as the original as you can get. I mean, it's just great. And I think both of you have seen Breaking Bad, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
good.
when you see the characters, I mean, Mike is just great, but when you see the characters before Breaking Bad, it's pretty cool. And then now we're going back and watching Breaking Bad again and seeing the characters pop up again, and it's even cooler that way of how good they did with Better Call Saul for the continuity of that. Yeah, it's really, I highly, highly recommend it if you haven't seen it. So that is my number one.
Great pick. I am also waiting for that season 6 on Netflix. Yeah, highly anticipating it.
Okay, I have 4 honorable mentions.
Okay.
Night Court, 30 Rock, The Good Place, and Golden Girls.
Nice.
I've never watched any of 30 Rock and never any of The Good Place. I think that's only 2 seasons, right?
I've watched 2 seasons of The Good Place, so I'm hoping there's 3. Otherwise, it's not on my list anymore.
Oh, yeah. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how many are out there. I might have to watch that. Yeah, Golden Girls. Oh, so funny. So ahead of its time.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of those episodes. It's just I've
Yeah.
never sat down and
Right.
watched it.
Honorable mention for me, I just have one that I put on here, Sopranos. I don't know if either of you have watched.
Never seen it.
I think at the time that I watched it, it was I don't believe it wasn't. I know for sure it wasn't streaming at that point. It was years ago. My brother had lent me the DVD sets. That's how I was watching it, and had got 2 seasons through, and I never got that 3rd box set from him. So, but I know, man, I know. But he did lend me the Peacock, right? So I gotta.
So
that should be on HBO Max too, right?
But now it's on HBO Max, so it's one that I have wanted to go back and finish.
I can't believe you don't have Pennyworth as an honorable mention.
Well, yeah, I guess I didn't look at the list. I looked at it as like I started something. I haven't started that at all, but yeah, that is definitely a show that I want to watch for sure.
I'm surprised with you being as big of a Batman fan as you are that you haven't.
I gotta
just
watch
the fact that it's so it's before he's in the U.S. and all that, and meeting the Waynes for the first time, and yeah, it's really cool.
That sounds great, and I've mentioned it. We've talked about it before. I enjoyed the comic so much, so yeah, that is one I'd like to go back and.
So I've got 2 honorable mentions. I've got 24. We watched, I think, the first 4 or 5 seasons. I don't know how many seasons it is.
That almost made my list.
And one of the things with 24 was it just got really repetitive. Like every season was, kind of like Walking Dead would be for you, Jim, where every season there's another tragedy happening and the same sort of thing happens. And then the second honorable mention would be Prison Break. I don't know if either of you watched Prison Break.
No.
Nope,
oh, it's a really good show. I recommend that too. I can't think of the actors' names, but did either of you watch Legends of Tomorrow?
No.
Or any of the Flash shows or any of that?
The Flash,
on
yes.
CW. So you know the guy who played oh my goodness,
That one
Freeze,
character.
or not Mr. Freeze, but
Captain
who's
Cold.
he? Captain Cold.
Yeah.
Him, and then Rory, the guy who played his brother.
Okay.
Well, they're in Prison Break, and it's a
All right.
really good show. It's really
Nice.
good. So both of those I got to finish. But so
Very
that is
cool.
my top 5. Good deal.
Great list, man.
Yeah, that was
a lot
fun.
of good shows there.
We didn't do much overlap on any comics and movies. I mean, I think we had a couple, but
Just Dexter, I think, was the only
Dexter, yeah,
Mhm.
Dexter,
for me and you.
I think that was it. Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, nice.
Good
It's
list.
impressive for not even talking to each other about it.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
It's rare.
Anyway, awesome show. We are just under 2 hours. Not too bad. We're much more talkative with guests, Jim.
I know.
Probably more interesting too. We're gonna have to have guests every week now.
Well, we got one lined up for next week.
There
We
you go.
do. We do. So yes, anybody who's still awake, next week is going to be Chris Evans from Gathering of the Geeks. If you don't watch his show, definitely go watch it. Also, go watch him and Emmett talk about Rings of Power. They've got a great podcast on that where they break it down for you.
Elves, hobbits, and potatoes.
Yes, great
That's
show.
nice.
Great show. And definitely check out Chris whenever he does his end of the month live Lost in Comics and all his in betweens. I'm sure everybody who's watching this follows him already, so keep an eye out on that. And also check out Adam Janis with his Tricks or Truth. This is October, so you never know what you're going to get from him. I think he just released a new podcast yesterday or the day before. So
Yes.
check him out. Support all of us Lost spin-offs that are out there. Trying to entertain you guys a little bit, but more than that, trying to entertain ourselves, which I think we do pretty well
Yes.
most of the time. So
According to Meredith from Pennsylvania.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. Meredith from Scranton.
Right. Pennsylvania.
Yes, Meredith from Scranton.
And Shirley.
That is in Pennsylvania, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. All right.
Well, thank you guys for having me. I had a really good time.
Thanks
Hopefully
for
we
coming
can
on, man.
do it again. Yeah.
So what do you got coming out next? You're just going to keep us up to date with your top 3s and stuff, or
Yeah. So I'm officially. I got really behind on a lot of stuff with vacation. I'm officially caught up on everything. So of course, every week, top 3 comics of the week. Definitely going to have that out. I mentioned a little bit ago, we're going to do the Dark Phoenix Saga breakdown, where we're going to break down the whole comic, go through it. I want to get David's opinions on it, just how he felt about it when it was coming out, when he was reading it. I have a couple other videos on the burner right now, the back burner I'm working on, but also on Instagram and Twitter, just on social media. I'm for the whole month of October, I'm looking to put out comic book or horror comic recommendations. So everybody can check that out. I love this month. It's fun for me. You guys know I love my horror comics and horror. I gotta say that better. My wife told me earlier, she was like, "Stop saying horror. Like it sounds like you're saying horror." And I'm like,
I love how whenever you do a woman's voice, it's the same voice for them all.
oh,
yes,
man.
it is.
Shoot, I gotta stop.
She sounds just like Mars.
You do.
Oh, Mars, random one.
Yeah,
Random one. That's what it is. Random one. Yeah, that's what it is.
Hey,
It sounds a lot like this.
Oh, yes. Wow.
Oh man, get me in trouble.
No, that was fun. Yeah,
That's
good
good.
show. Good show. So yeah, really appreciate you being here. We will do it again sometime in the future for another Loster in
we got to
Comics.
get David on first.
Oh yeah. Oh, having David on with us will be fun.
I think
You know what? Yeah, me and David agree a lot about a lot of comic stuff. We really do.
Got to get the pouch, man.
Get the pouch. Tingles and the pouch. All right, that's going to do it for us tonight. Unless anybody else has anything they want to add, I want to thank you all for watching episode 6 of Midlife Vices, and we will see you again next week. Everybody take care.